This question comes from Christine Taylor, and she asks, do I need a website or can I just use my Facebook page? Now, Christine, that is a great question because a lot of businesses have a Facebook page instead of a website. And it's important to understand that Google uses your domain authority as a key ranking factor in search. So if you don't have a website, you are really putting yourself at a disadvantage in search, in particularly Google Maps and Google Search. So it's very important to have a website. Now, the important thing to consider is that you want to be highly visible in Google Search. Social media is great, but people go to Google to really find products and services. So that's where people really, their reflex is to go to Google if they're looking for a new business, product or service. So you want to be highly visible in Google and you want to give yourself every possible advantage to be dominant over your competitors in search. And one of the ways to do that is to get yourself a website. Now, it doesn't have to be an overcomplicated website. It can be a very basic website, but you really want to have that for domain authority. And when you have a website developed, it's very important that you look at on-page SEO, because this really is what talks to the search engines to really determine what your business offers and if it complies or if it's relevant to the person's search query. So on-page SEO is really important. But when you go and choose a web developer, there's a few things that you should do, and this is the advice that I give businesses, because you're going to spend some money, so you want to make sure it's going to be spent the right way. And in some cases, you can have a website developed and can actually put you at a disadvantage in search if it's not done correctly. So I suggest that when choosing a web developer, what you want to do is you want to get at least four or five samples of websites they've developed. And what you want to do is look at those businesses and where they're ranked in search. And this will give you some idea of how effective the web developer is with on-page SEO and how compliant they are in building websites to Google best practice. Another thing you should do is look up Google speed test and run a speed test on those sample websites. If a website loads slower than 2 seconds, it's deemed slow and it can affect your visibility and ranking in search. So if a web developer knows what they're doing and they're building to Google best practice, their sites will load fast. You don't want to spend your money on a website that looks great that nobody sees. In other words, it hasn't got the right speed and it hasn't got the right on-page SEO and it puts you at a disadvantage. So you're all the way down the search engine. So again, a beautiful website no one sees is not going to help anybody. The other thing I always recommend you do is contact the businesses that had the websites developed. And this is really important because you want to ask, did they develop the website to the price and to the promise that they made before they built it? And also too, what's their support service like? It's really important that you have a web developer who's responsive. If you need to make changes to your website, you want to have that done in a timely way. You don't have to be waiting around. A lot of businesses I speak to say that the web developers gave great service in developing the website, but the support wasn't there. So they're just a few tips about getting a website, but the most important thing is you should consider getting a website, even if it's very basic, to build your domain authority and improve your visibility in Google.